Yeah, I've heard you say when it comes to stuff that guys like, you seek that stuff out online, whether it's watching a streamer, whether it's watching guys talking about working out and fitness. You say that the right wing just dominates.
Look how tall
space.
she is.
Yeah.
Why?
On TV.
Well, I think that's why I started on Twitch, right? I know for a fact that the video game space is like people who consume this culture, people who are a part of this culture are not all right wing. I wanted to showcase to people that like, no, you can be a progressive person, you can be a leftist and like have fun at the same time.
How many people were watching your live stream on election night?
The total unique number was 7.5 million.
There's a general sense that when it comes to the world of podcasts, alternative media, I don't even know what you want to call it, that Trump did a much better job with that than Democrats and Harris.
Absolutely. I think that's true. When I saw the Aiden Ross collab, I thought, this doesn't have emotion. It was awkward, it was weird. But then I saw Trump on Theo Vaughn, and he started talking about cocaine. And I was like, uh-oh, this humanizes him.
Cocaine so you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
Cocaine will turn you into a damn owl, homie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Harris did consider going on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But she didn't. What is it that the Democrat Party has to do differently?
Well, I think that they need to change their policies.
It's a policy thing.
Yes, it's 100% a policy thing. Which is the boring answer. Although it would be very self-serving for me to say, I'm the left's Joe Rogan, the Democratic Party should give me millions of dollars. That's not going to solve this problem. What will solve this problem is if the Democratic Party actually adopts real left-wing economic populist messaging instead of purposefully avoiding that stuff because they're terrified of upsetting their corporate donors. I think Trump speaks to male insecurities better, and I think Trump speaks to the anger that people have, whereas the other side of the political spectrum does not speak to that anger at all.
There's been a lot of controversy around you.
Yes.
The way you talk about Israel is viewed by some as anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Are you anti-Semitic?
Of course not. The real problem here is that I'm an anti-Zionist. The real problem here is that I'm extremely critical of Israel and all of the information that's readily available, especially on social media for so many people that don't necessarily rely on mainstream media any longer to get their information. And that's why you see this generational gap. If you're over the age of 35, you're still operating on the old boundaries. You're like, no, Israel's the most moral democracy in the Middle East, maybe in the world, right? Like, and I think that the major generational divide that is, I think, in a very damaging way, feeding into the mistrust overall that people have with mainstream news in general, is coming from that.
Tony O'Sullivan, CNN, Los Angeles.
Yeah, it was so thoughtful and important to hear that. Ken Martin is out front. He is running to be the next chair of the DNC. He's the current chairman of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. And I really appreciate your time, Ken. So, you hear Hasan Piker. 7.5 million people watched him on an election night. He's all in as a Democrat. But then he's talking to Donny about how the video game and fitness space online is dominated by right-wing people talking about it, right? Not necessarily everyone into fitness, right? That there's that gap. And he says that Trump speaks to male insecurities better. He speaks to the anger that people have and that Democrats don't speak to that anger at all. I'm quoting Hasan here. He's very direct about the problem. Do you agree with him?
Well, first off, Aaron, thanks for having me on tonight. And actually, I think Hasan's right in most of what he says there, and particularly as it relates to the fact that the Republicans have been, since the 2020 election, a constant drumbeat of misinformation, disinformation, and lies on platforms that the Democratic Party really wasn't competing in. We live in a 24/7, 365-day information environment now that we have to be competing in a much better way. Podcasts, streaming services, TikTok, social media, of course. My two boys, 22 and 20, they get their information from TikTok, right? And so we have to start realizing that we have to be where the voters are. That's half the battle, of course.
Okay,
and
no, he's missing the point. I didn't say just be at the podcast.
Others who are already trusted validators and messengers in these spaces to help push these messages out and to have conversations with voters and people who are feeling frustrated and angry and left behind.
That's not what I said.
When we send people into these spaces, it tends to be politicians.
It's the opposite
or
of what I
talking
said.
heads. People like
I said change
Hasan
the
have deep
policies.
influence and certainly have a voice and a following.
So, there has been a lot of focus, and he sort of touches on that because he's talking about the dominance of right-wing voices in very male spaces like video games or fitness. And there has been, though, broadly speaking, Ken, so much focus right now, and as you're looking to run the DNC, this is at the center of it.
I said you're not going to podcast your way out of this problem.
Aggressively away from certain social positions like DEI, right? Or from issues where Democrats certainly seem to be in this election and certainly were successfully branded as much to the left of American voters. For example, Kamala Harris's support of taxpayer-funded surgeries, transgender surgeries for illegal migrants. The heads of the Trump and Harris campaigns see the impact of that issue, of that now famous ad, very differently.
That's crazy.
I wanted to play each of them for you.
Oh, my God.
We targeted black men, Hispanic families.
Oh, my God, I'm dying.
White families, suburban women. We ran that ad everywhere because
they
it also got to the
did
point
not
about boys and girls locker rooms.
They're like, no, we have to find a Joe Rogan to the left and give him $1 million. That's the point. That's what we got to do.
Most ruthlessly effective.
I don't know how else I can communicate this point like openly.
Politics.
This trans ad was not driving vote. There's a belief that if only we had responded to this trans ad with national and huge battleground state ads, we would have won. I don't think that's true.
So, Ken, how do you see it? One of the most ruthlessly effective negative ads in all of history, or this trans ad was not driving the vote. Even if they'd responded to it more effectively, they wouldn't have won. Which point of view is right?
Well, I don't know which point of view is right. What I do know is we don't have to abandon our values here. We can stand up for the oppressed and marginalized and people who are being pushed out of this conversation, while also at the same time centering this conversation around people's economic pain and their frustrations with what was happening in this country these last several years. It's not about left or right to me. It's about making sure we focus squarely on a working class agenda that centers the struggles of this multiracial, multi-generational working class that is feeling left behind, that's working harder than they ever have before, that's struggling to get ahead and feeling like no one gives a damn about their lives. At the end of the day, that's the thing that unites all parts of our broad coalition in the Democratic Party, and we need to focus back on basics here, right? But at the same time, we do not need to abandon our values. We will stand up and protect and fight for people who are being pushed out of this conversation in this country and bullied and attacked like we see in Congress right now.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time. Ken Martin, as I said, chairman of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. And I know, sir, you are running to run the DNC. And that decision for the Democratic Party is going to be crucial. So much is at stake. So thank you for your time. And you mentioned what's going on in Congress. Well, that comes down to this. The Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace now leading the charge when it comes to attacking transgender women. But wait until you see what she used.
Sexual assault and find ways to poke holes in their arguments. So that's cool. And last but not least is always doing projection. Does a metric ton of awful shit to other content creators and then personally turns around and says, we are the real victims here, actually. Why the fuck does nobody like us? Wait, what do you mean? He 100% watches. He's like, he knows. They're like, yeah, he knows what we do in here. Must be. But then the other half is like, no, they're lying. Don't you do that, Hasan? Own personal. It's over. Where can we report this shit? I don't think there's much you can do to report it, to be fair. But I'm sure Reddit is aware of Destiny's subreddit, like actively brigading. You know? Hasan, their community logs every message posted in this chat. Yeah, I know. I heard that. A DGGer got made mod of the H3 subreddit. That's why it looks more insane. Oh, nice. Meanwhile, in your Twitch and your Discord, the link to Elisif is literally auto-modded. Yeah, I know. But we're doing that so that we can secretly... What is this? Embedding Hasanabi? Wait, what the fuck? They just have a straight embed on their website? Hasan is showing a live chat reaction where you said, "Oh, this is right now in real time," where you said the N word. Rainfall. They're literally watching right now. That's crazy. With 1,816 connections. That's crazy. I'm one of the strongest hate watchers and I'm not in the fucking video. Dude, I swear to God, it is. I've said this time and time again. Like, it is not healthy to behave like this. To all the stalkers, hello. I promise you, taking a shower, hitting the weights, you will fix your life. But the first step is just moving away from these communities that you're a part of, that you feel like you have a sense of purpose in. It's just making you a sadder person. I promise. It is harming you more than it does me. I know you think it's harming me and you can't cope with the reality that it doesn't, like none of these initiatives have been successful after 5 years. And maybe one day it will be, you know what I mean? One day we'll get them. It's going to happen. And it pisses him off or anything like that. And then when you can't figure out why, like other content creators don't have the same energy that you guys have towards me. And then you're like, how is this possible? Why do they not like my God King Destiny the same way that they like Hasan? Does he have blackmail on every single streamer? Is that what it is? And then you end up compounding on the fucking crazy ass shit. You become like a QAnon person. I know you guys care about the truth. Deep down inside, I know you care about critical thinking and the truth. Okay? And I promise you, there is a reason why the way you see the world is directly at odds with the way other people outside of your immediate community see it. And it's the call is coming from inside the house, okay? Like most normal people don't look at me with the same vitriol. He changed it, but D's Twitter header references communities anonymous alts for brigading. What is this? Well, I don't know what this is. Together we fuck shit up. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's whatever. That's neither here nor there. This isn't going to work. I know it's not, but I agree with. But also actively seek out other content creators and do try to expand. I mean, I'm doing fucking mainstream media. And not only that, but also, collaborating with other content creators and whatnot. Did you see this? They talked about you on a radio show? I did not. What is this? The guest called you hot? What's the time code?
Listener supported.
1859. Did I listen to this?
We'll talk about Joe Rogan.
Again, like I said earlier,
we'll find
right of mainstream media institute that people get on the right.
So it's playing video games, whether it's working out, whether it's, I don't know, listening to like a history podcast or whatever, every single facet of that is just completely dominated by center right to, I wouldn't say far right in the same way that it was back in like the 2016 era at the end of like Obama's administration, but like definitely center right to Trumpian right, like openly Trump right, not like genuinely neo-Nazi. That part is quieted down a little bit, but like they're like 90% of the way there for the most part. Osmods, not everyone likes you. I know. There's plenty of people that don't like me. I know. It's all good. And that's it. Everything that they see is right-wing sentiment being expressed by individuals that they find charismatic, thought leaders, influencers that they subscribe to. And I think that is some of the reason why you see this movement.
Hasan Piker, who himself, I gather, is 33 years old. Want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the draw that Hasan has that a lot of other influencers on the left don't have is that he is this like really hot, funny guy. And a lot of these kind of other influencers on like the center right and stuff who cover, gaming and sports and stuff, but do have these center right politics. they're mostly just like dudes having fun. And I think one thing that's really important is that these influencers are creating a sense of community, and they're flattering the same grievances that a lot of young men have. Like, young men are so lonely and scared, and they, are part of this sort of wider backlash to feminism at this exact moment. And these influencers are speaking to them in that way because they're like dudes having fun together doing dude stuff. And I think any kind of answer for the left, if you want to call it that, has to reckon with that.
Shanita in Brooklyn, you're on WNYC. Hi.
Damn, okay. I'll take it. But yeah, dudes having fun. That is what we try to do around these parts. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I wish all of you in the jump scare for the Hatewatchers. I'm sure they've seen this already. But I wish all of you a happy life. I do. I want what's best for you. I still want you to get health care. I still want you to get free college. I want you to get all of it. All right? I really do. I want you to be able to get a meaningful. I want you to be able to pursue a meaningful life. I want you to be able to have a meaningful existence in your workplace. You know? It's all good. I know you don't believe me when I say this, but I still do. If you got undocumented relatives, I'll fight for them. If you got trans relatives, or if you're trans, I'll fight for you. You know? It is what it is. Anyway, Walmart is joins growing list of companies to roll back diversity programs.
Morning, a major decision at Walmart, not about holiday sales, but about diversity programs, also known as DEI programs. It's joining a growing list of companies rolling them back.
This morning, the world's largest retailer says it's rolling back some of its diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Walmart, which employs more than 1.5 million Americans, joins a list of major corporations revising DEI initiatives. The company saying every decision comes from a place of wanting to foster a sense of belonging, to open doors to opportunities for all our associates, customers, and suppliers.
This is the single largest employer in the United States. We are talking about a company that is worth almost.
This guy getting play is so gross. Robbie Starbuck. Yeah, it's real, man. This is really what happened. I can't believe this motherfucker is like a prominent. He is a prominent figure in the Republican movement. And it reminds me of this other prominent figure in the Republican movement. Scott Pressler, baby. Who called the CNN piece of hit piece. Let's take a look.
Delivered. Those are the words of a man few people know, but a man who was key to Donald Trump's win in Pennsylvania. The controversial conservative activist, Scott Pressler,
he looks exactly like the other guy.
Involved in the group Gays for Trump, a vocal election denier.
I used to hate you. The more content of yours I saw, the more I saw you had reasonable takes, and the impression I've been given of you was incorrect. Keep being amazing. Hell yeah, Chatter. I'm glad that you were able to watch this content charitably.
By the Twitter handle, The Persistence. He helped deliver that all-important must-win state for Trump, in large part by focusing on, as he says, the Amish, frat guys, and hunters, among other groups. And Pressler, as our Ellie Reeve reports, is just getting started.
Everybody just big smile and look cute. Okay. Cheese. Cheese.
Scott Pressler is the kind of political figure only possible in the Trump era, going from social media influencer to actual proximity to power. Scott! Pressler is taking credit for turning Pennsylvania red. He created a PAC, Early Vote Action, to register voters.
Is there a reason the biggest critique I always hear about you from mostly same people is that you cherry pick? Cherry pick what? Like, are the criticisms, I don't know who you're talking about in terms of like mostly sane people, but are the criticisms, just that you're a cherry picker, are the criticisms valid, or do they not actually stand on their own, especially when, you know, oh, people you meet in real life, yeah, they're probably fucking watching clips, dude. What do you mean? Yeah. Why would that even be a fucking a problem? From like a random person that you meet in your life, you're like, hey, I really like this Hasan guy. I watch him and he's like, I hate that guy because he cherry picks. Honestly, this is more offensive than saying they're dying for nothing. Ukrainians are fighting and dying every day so that we can be safe and enjoy the right to say asinine, ignorant, and cowardly things on podcasts. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm just asking. I mean, you should ask them what they mean when they say cherry picker. I've never actually heard anybody say that. I wish someone could, you know, give an example of what they mean. But if I'm being super charitable, I assume they mean like, oh, he actually will address like the worst criticism that someone has made and not address like the reasonable criticisms that people are making. But the problem is they're not making reasonable criticisms. Yeah. The one consistent through line with a lot of people who hate me that most likely agree with a lot of what I talk about is that they've probably seen some clips and the clips that they saw left a sour taste in their mouth, and understandably they're busy, so they're not going to fucking examine further. They're not going to go to the root cause. They're not going to like make up their own mind. Many people do this. I am sure have been victim to this as well about other people, random people. And they just operate off of vibes. And sometimes they'll see like a drama tuber slop content that they watched and make up their minds and move on. And why should they? Why should they go further? You know? It makes sense. I also am very sarcastic usually, so that I think, like, I have a sarcastic tone when I talk that I think people don't fully understand. And if they're not aware of my convictions, if they're not aware of my worldview, that leads people astray. T-Pain thought I was a conservative for the longest time. You know? I think I rely too much on how much commentary I've dedicated to being anti-Trump, anti-Republican, anti-religious fundamentalism, that like the expectation is that people will know, especially if they find themselves in this community, exactly what I'm talking about, not considering that there are people that are not in this community that are simply seeing clips out of context. Now, of course, having said that, your sarcasm doesn't track with people below the age of 27. Yeah, I don't agree with that either. You're just saying that because people below the age of 27 are mostly relying on clips. They're not coming in here to watch. They're not learning anything about my worldview, and why should they? I totally understand it. And if your argument is, you know, or if your solution is stop being sarcastic, well, you're fucking stupid. I'm not going to stop doing commentary and trying to be entertaining in the way that I have developed my my stream around, just because people are maliciously dedicated to framing me in a negative light. So yeah.
And targeted the Amish, frat guys, hunters, and other groups. His PAC got a $1 million donation from Elon Musk.
So walk us through how you do it.
When I tell the Amish that they can vote a private
secret ballot that is mailed to their house and they don't have to have their buggy seen going to a polling location. They love the mail-in ballot.
But a lot of people sort of come up as social media influencers and then they fizzle out. And you actually, took the opportunity.
Yeah, he's fizzled out.
And started doing something quantifiable.
He was at the Capitol on January 6th and at Trump's return to the scene of his near assassination in Butler.
President Trump took a bullet for us.
Last week, Pressler was in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, because of a controversy over what ballots